Hello, this is Paranormal Girl, and today I'm going to do a lecture on the lost gypsy writings, where magic entwines with the body, mind, and soul. So I'll start with a simple quartz and candle spell. First, you choose the appropriate colour candle with your theme. Carve a symbol representing your magical intent. Focus on this goal while carving the candle, emitting your own energy as you carve. Charge a quartz crystal with the same goal and place it with the candle at your bedside. Every night, meditate, focusing on the intended outcome. Repeat this ritual every night for 7 days or until your goal is reached. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the oak man. Oaken are the most widespread tree fairies in England. Sometimes they are merged with oak trees, and sometimes they appear as forest dwarfs who offer tempting food to passing mortals, which will turn out to be a poisonous fungi disguised by the fairy glamour. They inhibit cops, and it's invariably indicate the presence of oaken. The mortals should be warned to avoid the area. Oaken become very extremely angry and dangerous if the tree is cut down. It is said that when an oak is felled, it gives out shrieks and groans that can be heard a mile away. Oaken also guard all the forest animals and punish those who harm them, such as fox hunters. However, they also possess beneficial magic. The rain that gathers in the oak hollows are as powerful magical healing qualities. The oak tree has a manifold association with fairies. The majority of fairies are found in woods and forests, particularly oak groves. Elves and fairies are often said to dwell within the hollow trunks of the oaks. A new forest rhyme advises to turn your cloaks for fairy folk are in old oaks. The concept of tree spirits is ancient and very widespread. In Greek myth, dryads and hamadryads are the spirits of the trees themselves. The oak is a tree that is perhaps more honoured in lore than any other. The Roman writer Pliny recognized that the Greek druos, meaning oak or oak spirit, is related to the Celtic word druid. Some authors suggest that the second syllable may be related to the Indo-European wid, meaning know, and that the derived meaning would be oak knowledge. It has been proposed that bard in Welsh is bard. The Celts carved the grove of oaks. On the Isle of Anglesey, there are still traces of the ancient groves of the Druids. An oak coppice or grove near Loch Saint on the Isle of Skye was so sacred that no one would enter it. Even in the 19th century, oaks were often designated local meeting places, a practice that goes back to Druidic times but persisted well into the recent past, with gospel oaks being popular location for the itinerant Christian preachers. And the next piece I'm going to read is Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay was the sister of King Arthur. In his stories, Thomas Malory made her the wife of Urien and the mother of Yvain. She was a rather tempestuous, malefic woman who tried to murder both her husband and King Arthur, and who had a number of lovers. She learned the magical arts from Merlin and used this knowledge to trick Arthur into sleeping with her. From this union she bore Mordred, the son who brought discord to Camelot and died inflicting a fatal wound on his father. But these tales are of a late date. Earlier tradition makes her the ruler of the island of Avalon. Some associate Avalon with modern-day Glastonbury in England. Its name is derived from the Welsh afal, meaning apple, since the island is covered in apple orchards. It's also sometimes called the Fortunate Isle and may be compared with the Irish Tirnan Og. Avalon is inhabited by 9 sisters, of which Morgan is the most beautiful and the most powerful. As King Arthur lay dying after the Battle of Camlan, Morgan appeared with a ship of women and carried Arthur to the island of Avalon. There he still lies with his knights under the fairy hill until Britain shall need him again. The island existed in legend long before the familiar Arthurian tales. In early Celtic legend, it could only be reached on a boat guided by the sea goddess Baronethus, and was a place fit only for the bravest and best. Morgan was a goddess of the Druids, perhaps related to Modron or Matrona, the Welsh divine mother goddess, who has aspects of maiden, mother and crone. She is certainly related to the Lady of the Lake and the fairy rulers of the Enchanted Islands. Her name may be derived from the Welsh Mor, sea, and Gan, a birth, for example, born of the sea. Again, the name may arise from the Welsh Mor Gwyn, meaning white lady. So, the next little piece I'm going to read is something called A Little More Gypsy History. In the Victorian era, gypsies began to travel glorious, ornate, horse-drawn wagons or caravans known as vardos, which captured the public's imagination, inspiring countless paintings, poems, novels, and children's stories. The gypsies have always been mistrusted and persecuted for their ways, where they are really healers and clairvoyants. Or were they really charlatans and parasites? The gypsies hangs on to an age-old custom, courtship rites and dialect. Romany communities are still to be found all over Europe and deep inside the former Soviet Union. In Britain today, barely a dozen families are to be found wandering the country on horse-drawn wagons. In a decade or so, there may be none at all. Romanis are true friends of the earth. With their nomadic existence, they have lived closer to nature than anyone else and are among the last free spirits on the face of the globe. And next is a book blessing. Listen to the gypsy's word, calling the all a gulf to ford. Bridge the fast realities, and harm it none, do what ye please. O elements, watch and guard this book, from wandering eyes and praying looks. In this night and ready hour, fill it with thine ancient power. Powers of the north, earth below, show us to live, to learn and grow. Lend us your strength and stability to practice our craft and find ourselves free. Powers of the east, wind and sky, watch all these pages with thine eye. Your wisdom and knowledge, for these we do ask, that this book be worthy the craft and its task. Powers of the west, waters and sea, transformation and growth are granted by thee. Bless these pages with all that you know, that all righteous readers may learn and may grow. In winter, in spring, in summer and fall, in our shadows and dreams, ask the aid of the all, to practice the craft of the wise as we must, with truth and love, respect and trust. We ask for the blessings of the Lady and Lord, as we hold up a chalice and brandish his sword. All that we know is infused by his power, from sun and from moon, from rock and from flower. Guard us, Earth Mother, and teach us your law, from silvery moon to the earth's inner core. When working our magic, please help us not to fear it. We know you will guide us and strengthen our spirits. Grant us, Sky Father, your wisdom and strength to complete all your workings, to go the full length. You smile down upon us, the light of the sun, rejoicing in life, with you we are one. Guardians from the four direction, Lady and Lord, we ask your protection. And you love for which we look, to inspire and lead us as we write this book. Yet to the unschooled eye, let's see, confusing words and sophistry. Lead them from these sacred pages on blessed ways throughout the ages. Yet to the gypsy this book shall stay, plain and truthful, clear as day. Direct and show, guide and teach, their dreams and goals, please help them reach. Free will for all, and harm to none, as I have willed it, so it shall be done. And there is another piece called The All-Seeing Eye. The all-seeing eye, a single human eye found in many eras and cultures. It's generally found in many eras and cultures. It's generally a symbol of the watchful and protective power of the Supreme Being, especially when that entity is considered in a solar or heavenly context. It appears on the Great Seal of the United States and is among the many beautiful symbols of Freemasonry, where it represents the great architect of the universe. In regions where the evil eye belief occurs, the all-seeing eye charm is used, an apostrophe talisman against danger. In this specifically protective role, the all-seeing eye appears on at least one North American good luck coin to guard the bearer from evil. A similar talismanic function was assigned to the protective Widget eye, or Eye of Horus, of ancient Egypt, and the third eye of Buddha in India. Even the Mexican Ojo de Vanodo charm, an ancient shamanic amulet made from the psychedelic lugine seed, is given an eye-related name. Ojo de Vanodo means dear eye. So next piece I'm going to read is something called an initiation. The eucalyptus leaves crunch beneath her feet, and the darkness grows with quietness and serenity. Tonight she steps out of the mundane world and enters the unknown underworld on her own. When she returns, it will be with insight. She arrives at the ritual site, an old disused mine in South Australia. The darkness envelops her as the clan brings in the quarters. They circle and sing on watch as she approaches the underworld. This she must do alone. She throws a coin down the mine shaft and slowly descends the ladder. She had no sooner put one foot on the ground when Kali springs to life, asking her the purpose of her intrusion of her domain. Her heart pounds. She responds and then is directed on her journey. The darkness is so black, she must feel her way along the shaft, touching the sides. There is only just enough headroom to stand. She can only continue to move forward. Turning back would lose her way. The chants of the rest of the group are barely audible now. She is there. She is on her own in the womb of the mother, and there is no fear. She feels safe. She feels beautiful. Minutes pass. She keeps on going. She sees a change in the blackness, first to brown, then to lemon. She has done it. She is overwhelmed with pride and ecstatic. Wonderful! On her arrival, she receives a gift, a reading from the high priestess before taking a place in the circle with the rest of the group. Tears of joy streamed down her face. No one spoke, anyone knew. Although it is different for everyone, it's an experience they cherish always. The Gypsy Way. The Gypsy tradition goes back to the darkest reaches of time. It uses simple spells and rituals to harness the power of nature and the elemental spirits that are all around us. The Gypsy people are as independent in thought as other areas of life, and they don't believe a clergyman is really necessary to intercede between a person and the powers that be. Although most Romanis would profess a belief in the official religion of the country in which they reside, and indeed many are now born-again Christians, there is still a deep respect for the old ways. And why not? Everyday experiences proves the efficiency of those ways. Everyone has the right and ability to use the natural power of nature for themselves. Though, of course, as with everything else in life, some people are more experienced than others. The more experienced a person than others, the more experienced the person in the ways of the paranormal. The more confident, and thus the more experienced a person in the ways of the paranormal, the more successful they will become. The power should never be abused, such as trying to impress others with their knowledge and ability, as this shows a complete lack of wisdom. The Gypsy way is a way that springs up from the heart and the deepest, most primitive instincts of man. It respects primitive instincts and it respects the nature of man's place. It teaches us to take joy in the moment. So I'm going to read a little Gypsy history. The first Gypsies claimed to be Christian nobility of Egypt, who had abandoned their possessions in order to retain their faith when the Muslims gained power. They were believed for a good period. However, linguistic evidence strongly demonstrates that they actually originated in India and moved west, migrating through the Middle East into Europe. Although the Gypsies call themselves Rom, and their language is known as Romani, the Romani language is known as Romanian. The Romani being shown to be closely related to groups of languages and dialects still spoken in India and the same origin as Sanskrit. They were often described as dark-skinned magicians, entertainers, smiths, horsebreakers, and other skilled trade workers. There is also a good possibility that they were the original belly dancers. Usually living in tents, the gypsy wagons are a recent introduction. The wagons date from the 18th and 19th century. Before that, they travelled by foot and horseback, setting up tents by night. Reliable periods of information is sadly lacking, and the only people writing about them are the ones who wanted to get rid of them at all costs. The 15th century really saw the ball rolling. Because of this, gypsies had remained very secluded and secretive. Cultural tainting had been comparatively low, and modern practices may well reflect medieval practices. In France, it was thought that these people came from Bohemia and were thus called the Bohems. There were Elizabethan laws against acting or dressing as an Egyptian, which from description are what seems to be called gypsies. It's quite possible that the word gypsy came into the use as an abbreviation of an Egyptian somewhat later the arrival of Rom in England. The Rom began to come to the United States from England in 1850. Their arrival coincided with the increase of the demand of the draft horses in agriculture, and then urban transportation. Many Rom worked as horse traders, both in the travel intensive acquisition of stock, and long-term urban sales stable enterprise. After a rapid decline in the horse trade following the First World War, most Rom relied on what was previously secondary enterprises such as basket making and including the manufacturing sales of rustic furniture and fortune telling. The Rom arrived in the United States and Canada from Serbia, Russia and Austria-Hungary, beginning in the 1980s as a larger wave of immigration restrictions. Many in this group specialised in coppersmith work, mainly the repair and refining of industrial equipment used in bakeries, laundries, confectionaries and other businesses in urban area. The Ludar, or Romanian gypsies, emigrated from North America, and they specialised as animal trainers and show people, and show bears and monkeys were a common part of their baggage. Only a handful of items that have been published beginning in 1902. The ethnic language of Ludar is a form of Romanian. They are occasionally referred to as the Usari in the literature. Gypsies from Germany generally referred to in the literature as chickeners, sometimes refer to themselves as black to have largely assimilated with the Romanian culture. In the past known as horse traders and basket makers, some continue to provide baskets to US Amish and Mennonite communities. The literature on this is very sparse and unreliable. The Hungarian musicians also came into this country with the Eastern European immigration. In the United States, they continued as musicians to the Hungarian and Slovak immigrant settlements and count the musical tradition of a basic cultural element. The Irish travellers immigrated from the Romanians from the mid to late 19th century. The Irish travellers specialised in horse and mule trade, as well as the itinerant sales of goods and services. That latter gained in importance after the demise of the horse and mule trade. The literature also refers to this group as the Irish traders, or sometimes tinkers. Their ethnic language is referred to the literature as Irish travellers. The present population of Scottish travellers in North America from about 1850, although the 18th century transportation records appears to refer to this group, unlike any of the other groups. Scottish travellers have continued to travel between Scotland and North America, as well as between Canada and the United States after immigration. Scottish travellers also engaged in horse trading, but since the first quarter of the 20th century have specialised in the internet sales and services. And if you ever come across a gypsy who wishes to tell you your fortune, let her, because you never know. She might give you a little gypsy magic.